Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be quite niche, but it's going to be kind of what I've learned from my first year of nursing. I hope this can help you in some way and I hope you enjoy the video. Obviously I'm not going to have all the tips in the world or the best tips, so if you've got any other tips to give to anyone else, please leave them in the comments and help people out that might not be knowing what to expect when they start nursing. It's a background to me and my nursing career. I never had done care properly, professionally before. I looked after my grandma who had MS, and that was kind of all the kind of care that I saw. However, I'd never done anything like, I'd never been a healthcare assistant and I hadn't really done anything else, so it was kind of a big experience. Obviously if you've kind of gone from being a healthcare assistant and you're going into nursing, you might find the transition a little bit smoother. So my first tip is to always contact your placement around 1 to 2 weeks before you go on the placement. For me at Chester, they do 50% theory and 50% practice. So in our first year we had 3 practice placements. I know with other unis that can vary and change. However, I still recommend before you go on your placement, about 1 to 2 weeks before, your uni might advise something else, but I'd always contact that placement. This allows you to find out who your mentor is. However, I know it's now changed to like supervisor or assessor or whatever, but it allows you to find out who your main people are going to be that you're going to be working with. Yeah, you might not see them or know them if you're just ringing up, but it gives you a name and it can also just help to reassure you. Ringing your placement can also help find out what the placement hours are likely to be, and especially if you've got children or other commitments, this is obviously very useful information for arranging childcare or other things like that. Another really good thing about contacting your placement a few weeks beforehand is that you can find out if that placement is a specialist placement, and what I mean by this is if it's something specific. So my last placement of my first year was a bowel surgery ward. So I found out what the ward was, and then I kind of went on the internet and researched about bowels and the kind of anatomy and also different operations that you can have to do with the bowel, and also different stoma types, because a lot of bowel surgery ends up in having a stoma, permanent, temporary, whatever it may be. But there isn't just one type of stoma. It's really important that you can identify those and just get a bit of background research before you go on the placement. They're not expecting you to be a doctor or know everything, but if you have a bit of background knowledge, that can make you look really good and just stand you in good stead. My second tip is to volunteer for anything, such as like open days, interview days at your uni if you possibly can. At Chester, what they do is helping out at open days and uni days and interview days or whatever it may be gains you practice hours, and even if you're fine for your practice hours, these can come in really handy because you never know when you're going to be ill, or if you've got children, if they're going to be ill, or you never know what's going to happen in life and what can come up. So I always think getting a few extra practice hours behind you doing stuff like that can really help. Obviously I'm not sure if every uni works like that, but I know Chester does. I'd really suggest kind of volunteering, but also this can look really good on your portfolio, and I'm going to be talking about those quite a lot throughout the video because they are so important and really make you stand out from everyone else, because at the end of the day you're all going to have a nursing degree. It's your portfolio and like your interviews and everything else that's going to make you kind of stand out. My third tip is to attend. So this is attend nursing events, conferences, training programs, because a lot of the time you're going to get certificates from these, and these again can be put in your portfolio. Oh my god, these words, I cannot speak today. And this will really stand you in good stead because it makes you look really interested in nursing and the subjects around it. It makes you look enthusiastic, intrigued, but also you learn so much. Whilst I was on the bowel ward, I actually went on a stoma workshop thing. This happened in placement, so I still got my practice hours, and it was in the hospital, and the stoma specialist nurses actually did this workshop. They just showed like different stomas, different types of the bags, how you cut them, and it was really helpful for me because I was on a bowel ward, so obviously it was very useful, and the information I could then use on my placement. But also they give you a certificate after that you can go in your portfolio, and it just makes you look like you've got a broader knowledge in other things. And also the tip attend is kind of attend university, because I guess with other uni courses, and I'm not being mean when I say this, but I know a lot of people don't go in, or they drink a lot and then like don't go to a lecture the next morning or whatever, and that's kind of like the uni thing. With nursing or midwifery or any kind of healthcare professional course, it's a bit more attendance really matters, because the Nursing and Midwifery Council states that you should do 2,300 hours and 2,300 practice hours to qualify. And obviously if you don't have those hours you can't qualify, and the uni's pretty much set a programme of those hours, so even just missing a few hours is like detrimental, and it's so important you attend. Obviously if something's happened, deal with it in the right way, contact the people you need to contact, but it's not the end of the world. And I'm not saying turn up half dead, because if you need time off, you need time off, you know, people can't help things, but try not to just be like, oh, I can't be bothered, because that is something I know I did last year. I hold my hands up and I say, but my attendance has really suffered for it. I've kind of learnt my lesson. Tip number 4 is to keep. So keep as many letters, cards, feedback from patients and your mentors. These can be so helpful and motivational words, because if you're kind of in that state where, you know, you're feeling a bit down, it's all too much, and it can be, honestly, it can be a lot, and you think, I'm not going to make a good nurse. Go back to that feedback that particular person said. Go back to that card you got off that family. Last year I didn't actually get any cards or letters off patients or family or anything. However, I did get some good feedback off my mentors. So if you can kind of hold on to that and keep that, it is really good and will stand you in good stead. Even just remembering what a patient said, because patients said a lot of things to me, especially, and they are at their most vulnerable time. So that it's almost like their words are more valuable there, because they're so vulnerable, and when they say thank you, they really mean thank you for helping me, for getting me through this time. And just remembering those can really help you stay motivated as well. But also, again, your portfolio, if you can keep cards or letters or anything that show how good your care was, keep them in your portfolio, because then when you come to interviews and things, these people can see how good and caring and, you know, what family and patients and relatives and other people really think. And obviously that's the most important thing, is what the public think and the people that you are looking after actually think. Tip number 5 is to reflect. You're going to hear this so much, so I'm sorry that I'm saying it now. This will help to improve your reflection technique. So obviously over 3 years you're going to have to reflect a lot, so the more you do of it now, the better that technique is, because I'm not the best with my technique of reflection and like all the different ways of it, and there are certain reflection models, so definitely look those up online. But reflection for me mostly helps me with certain experiences. A lot happens, and a lot, obviously it's more on placement than in university, but a lot will happen, and some good and some terrible, and you need to find ways to cope with it. And reflection is so important. It's so important that you do it to really get the most from that experience. Reflections are also really good to put in your portfolio. I know I keep banging on about a portfolio, but it just helps you look like a natural human being that has feelings and can learn from things and can describe events and situations. Obviously that's going to be really good, because you need to do your care notes anyway and stuff. Number 6 is to communicate. Now this is one of the 6 C's, but it's also one of the most important tips that I'm actually going to share. Communicate with your teachers, your tutors or whatever, lecturers, friends, family, mentors, anyone. For me, this really helped with group projects. We would all kind of communicate with each other. We would have Facebook groups, which really helped. So it's just from things as simple as that. I had a meeting with my tutor, so we all have our own tutors and we meet up with these throughout the year just to make sure that we're okay, things are going well. I was talking to her and everything was fine, and then we went to my attendance, which, as I said earlier, was quite shocking. My tutor said, you know, is there any reason for this? And I was just like, no. And then I kind of got a bit upset, because at the end of last year I did miss a few lectures because I was very, very down in my head. I think it's just very tiring to, like, the whole course can be very intense, and especially when your mental health's a bit like this anyway. Mine just kind of went down towards the end of the year, and that happens, and that's fine. And I just kind of didn't want to get up, I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to leave the house, and I didn't go to my lectures. And then I kind of just thought, do you know, I'm just going to tell her this is why, because I don't want her to be angry at me and think I'm just skiving. So I just said I wasn't in a great place last year and I didn't really want to get up most days and come in. And she said, why didn't you say something before? She was giving me endless things that she could help me with. She said, don't worry about your attendance. Like, honestly, the support and advice that she gave was just so nice and supportive, and it just made you think, wow, I should just open up more, because you're being honest and that's all you can be. And to have her reaction that was so nice just made me feel very good, and makes you feel like I can go back to them in the future. So always open up to people. Tip number 7 is a little bit boring, so I do apologise, but it is to register. Register with a union early on. For a student to register with a union, it is literally, I think mine's 80p a month. It goes up hugely when you do qualify, but 80p a month to join a union, it is so worth it. And I know unis will push this as well, so I don't need to like bang on about it too much, but register with a union, because you never know what's going to happen. Even if your care is outstanding, someone could turn something on you, and obviously you need someone to kind of back you up and have the hard facts there. In my notes I kind of put they're a security blanket throughout your career. They really are that safety net, and it's really important, and I'm going to shut up about it because I know that's a really boring tip. Tip number 8 is to invest, and what I mean by this is invest in a good pair of shoes. This might seem silly as a tip, but honestly, the amount of shoes I've gone through during this past year is crazy. And if you invest early on, you'll end up spending less money on a good pair of shoes than you will buying loads of cheap pairs, if that makes sense. And these are the perfect pair that I've found, and I want to show them because this might sound so silly to so many people, but it really has made a difference to me. I just used to have the worst pain in my feet, and like, I'm not the best to stand up all day anyway as it is, so for me this was really important. But this pair of shoes saved me, and I got these off Amazon because everyone in the hospital was wearing Skechers, and I was like, what's so good about them? But I do have already a pair of trainers that I wear kind of day to day, and they are so comfy, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I went onto Amazon. These are memory foam. They look still brand new. Memory foam, they're waterproof, really lightweight, so comfortable. Number 9 is to speak out. So if you're unhappy on a placement, if you're unhappy in general like I was last year, speak out, tell someone about it. But just speaking out if you're unhappy about something, if you notice something that doesn't seem quite right, just speaking out, it always helps, because a lot of the time your gut is right and the things that you're thinking are probably true. So trust your gut is my tip. My tip number 10 is to ask as many questions as you can. I know this links to communication, I know this also links to speaking out, but ask questions all the time. If you're not happy with something, if you're not sure of something, ask your lecturer, ask your mentor, whoever it may be, ask. My last tip is to enjoy it. Enjoy your first year of nursing. It is huge, it's a huge thing, it's a huge step, but it's so fun at the same time, and I've just loved it, and I made so many friends. We embraced every single second of it, because I can't believe my first year is over already. Like, it feels mad, it feels crazy that in 2 years I will be qualified as a nurse. That is the weirdest thing ever. But honestly, just enjoy it. It is your time. It is your time to show people what you can do. I honestly recommend nursing so much. I love it already. And yeah, just enjoy it as much as you possibly can. So that is the end of this video. I hope some of these tips have been helpful in some way. If you've got any questions or queries about anything I've said or anything I haven't mentioned, please let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you straight away with my best advice. Please like the video if you did enjoy it and it was somewhat helpful for you. Please subscribe, it would mean the world to me, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!